And we have in our studio Siddharth Yadav, Advocate, Supreme Court. And also we are joined in by Vaibhav Gaggar, partner Gaggar and Associates. And from both these gentlemen, we will find out what options does buyers have if they are stuck in such grave situation. There are over 30,000 buyers waiting for possession. There are no signs of them getting the flats anytime soon. So my first question, seeing that the condition of JP, for example, in such scenario, Siddharth Yadav, do you think that is there any hope for these buyers stuck in abandoned projects?
First of all, I'm an optimist, so there is certainly hope. These people have invested their hard-earned money in this. Now, there are 2 or 3 things they should do, and if they have done or not done, they should certainly get going now. And I've been saying this repeatedly on your show. Legal recourse is one. They should, for that, the easy way out is form an association. Individual buyer to take on a large company like JP or any other builder, developer, creates a problem. The litigation sometimes stretches. One. Secondly, there is a shortcut to the litigation route. If you were an individual buyer, you will have to start right at the bottom of the rung, file at the district court level or the consumer state level. Whereas if you form an association, you can all collectively come to the National Commission. There are n number of judgments now which will protect you. But the larger issue, Chanakya, which I wanted to raise, and I've been saying it again and again, is a social issue. Now, these people have bought homes for themselves to live in. They are not getting anything back in return. And there is no likelihood also. Your report showed, there are years and years of delay. If we cumulatively calculate all of them, there are more than 40, 45 years of delay. How will these people ever get their houses? So they have to do something. Not doing anything is not the answer.
Mr. Gaggar, now I would like to come to you. What legal action can the buyer take to get their homes?
Well, quite clearly, as it was just mentioned, one is the NCDRC route, or whether it's a district forum or the state forum. But according to me, this actually is a blatant case of fraud. If you're telling somebody that I'm going to be giving you a particular service or a product or a house in X amount of time, and I've raised money, I've taken money from you for that, it's an inducement. And if the inducement is false and false to their knowledge, then this actually meets the ingredients of 420 quite clearly in a criminal conspiracy. So that's certainly something that I would ask consumers to consider and take legal opinion on. Secondly, you may also want to see all these agreements. They're going to have various arbitration clauses, whether that works for them or not. RERA has should be kicking in once a designated authority is there. That's certainly something that has to be explored and to its fullest potential. But currently, the 2 immediate routes forward are the NCDRC with a simultaneous action for fraud that need to be contemplated. You could also look at a situation of filing a winding up petition. I mean, if you want to talk purely legally, if there are admitted debts which are there, then a winding up petition could also be sustainable. At the end of the day, however, is it something that is going to benefit them and get them their house? If the company doesn't have the resources, then it's a tough battle ahead. And as Mr. Yadav just pointed out, you're looking at almost 40 to 45 years of a backlog if all the projects are taken together.
That, so Mr. Yadav also said that is it better to form an association, register it, and then file a complaint in a group rather than going individually?
I somewhere disagree with Mr. Yadav on that, even though that is a practice which is normally followed. I myself have advocated that for the longest time. But of late, I have more and more started believing that individually or smaller clusters are better placed to take up these battles. Reason being that an association, which has 200, 300, 400 people, or even going into a few thousand people, it becomes so unmanageable. Literally red tapeism kicks in. There are politics of the association that kick in, that at the end of the day, instead of being able to focus on the matter at hand, one is grappling with a million other issues. So while to the extent of saying that a pecuniary jurisdiction, obstacle can be overcome and you can hit the NCDRC directly, I think there's a lot that has to be seen into it, and you don't want, people who are inserted in associations at times to create issues. Miscreants also become a part of it. It becomes almost self-defeating at times. So that's why, purely legally speaking, while I may accept what Mr. Yadav is saying, at a practical level, I'm not too sure I'm on the same page.
Okay. And Mr. Yadav, there are numerous cases pending before NCDRC. What other options do they have? Is that one NCDRC they should go to, or they have other options also?
Like Mr. Gaggar suggested, there could be criminal action, but criminal action is a very tedious process in this country. Complainant has to attend every hearing. Whereas here, a home buyer who's office going, working in a company, or a woman in that case, if she starts going to a criminal court pursuing issuance of summons to the directors, becomes a tedious process. Second point which was raised was whether a district court can be. Now, that's district court requires filing of a civil suit. Now, civil suit means putting court fees up front. Now, therefore, the consumer forum has been made only for individual persons like this, where they can avoid lengthy litigation, one. Second, you don't have to go through the entire gamut of leading evidence and so on and so forth. Third, there is no appearance required. You don't have to be present on every date of hearing before the court. Your lawyer does the job. Now, just coming back to whether why I propagate association is, here we are dealing with a large developer. Now, he has all the wherewithal. He will use all the wherewithal. Any and every application, I have had personal experiences where they have taken it appeal right up to Supreme Court, and then the matter comes back, and it takes years even for it to be decided before the NCDRC. Now, for an individual to afford that kind of litigation becomes very difficult. Over a period of time, they start losing faith in the judiciary. They have already lost money by investing in their property. They don't want to put good money after bad money. That's how the feeling comes in. So therefore, association collectively gathers some money. There is a president or a person who heads the association. I have had experiences where 1 or 2 point contact become the source between the association and the lawyer, and then it's pursued, the remedy is pursued. Till now, it's been found to be one of the most successful remedies available to the buyers.
So, Mr. Gaggar, do you think it is a successful remedy? Because in past we have seen Unitech case in which they were awarded higher compensation, buyers were awarded higher compensations, but it was the stay was put on it after the Supreme Court ruling.
No, so as I said, theoretically, I have no issue with what Ms. Yadav is saying. Legally speaking, an association is competent to do it. Yes, because it kind of divides the overall cost amongst a lot of people. Therefore, the consumers also kind of benefit to that extent. But I do believe, and I've had personal experiences as well, where we've represented and successfully represented associations because there have been that 1 point man or 2 point men who have been able to deal with it. On the other hand, I have also faced, and especially in the last couple of years, a lot of these cases where the associations have become a mess. There are too many vested interests which have started creeping in, which has actually derailed the litigation process, according to me, and that's talking from personal experience. And therefore, I'm not the greatest advocate of associations at every point of time, even though in the past we used to be. Secondly, regarding the Supreme Court giving a stay on the matter, the legal process takes its own time. I mean, we all, as lawyers, Mr. Yadav, myself, and others have had a sense of frustrations, but we also have seen what the courts have done, and they are, we have to credit them for bringing about a change in the real estate dynamics today, because earlier the consumers had no, they had no say whatsoever. Today the builders are worried that the authorities are going to come down on them hard. Yes, there's pendency of cases. Yes, things are slow and could have been faster, but I think the endeavor is in the right place, and I think everyone is at the end of the day going to see the light.
Okay, before wrapping up this discussion, lastly, do you think an appellate tribunal after a regulator formed in each state would benefit lakhs of buyers across India?
No doubt.
Mr. Gaggar,
I hope that was meant for me, and Mr. Yadav would have his own thought, but
so Mr. Yadav,
I think it has to be done. I do believe that there are constitutional issues which are going to surface in time to come with the RERA as well, with the framework, because you will need to have people trained in law and with legal degrees who are going to be sitting on the appellate tribunal or in the RERA. But I think that mechanism has been well thought out. I have no issue with that.
And Mr. Yadav, what do you think?
No, certainly, I agree there. The first step is in the right direction. How far do we take it? You see, land is a state issue in this country. So therefore, the constitutional, which Mr. Gaggar correctly refers to, is how do states, whether they adopt the act or not. Now, whether a state, for political reason, may or may not adopt the act, then what does the consumer of that state do? Does he have no remedy? The answer certainly has to be no. So therefore, that's what I said. This is not only a legal issue, this is a very, very large social issue. buying a house for yourself and your family and your children, and you don't get a home even after years and years of waiting and putting money after money. This has to be dealt with a social issue. And certainly, I mean, more has to be done just than taking these gentlemen to court or these companies to court, as we have seen that their courts have taken several big, large directors to task personally when they have defrauded people.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Siddharth Yadav and Vaibhav Gaggar, for joining us and giving our buyers options on how they can take on developers who are playing with their emotions. And it is time for the developers like JB to wake up and do whatever they can to complete those projects and flats for which buyers are waiting since years.